Bart, you tricked me. Welcome to the last SPSM chat of 2015.
Or maybe
How
ever.
are ya? So we're so excited. We have a wonderful program for you tonight. As you know, every year for the last couple of years, well, since the inception of the chat, we have done hashtag Project Clarence, where we talk about It's a Wonderful Life, because it is. And we talk about cool social media things that we can do, like memes. One year we really learned about how to do memes. One year we learned about things like merchandising and why we would do that. And this year we're going to learn about Vlogmas, Snapmas. We're going to learn about Blab. We're going to talk about sort of video blogging in various forms and why people do special holiday editions. We're going to talk about that. Super cool. But before we do that, quite honestly, although we love Clarence, the White House sort of upstaged us this week, and shit happened, is pretty much what happened. I would say that nice stuff happened if I thought that DJ Patil could actually make it on the show. DJ, I know you're listening. Make it on the show. But because I can't get DJ Patil, I got someone or two someones, because I can get a twofer, who are much better and very rewarding. First of all, we have SPSM alum Glenn Copper Smith, not Field. I did it. And Ryan Leary. We're going to meet them in just a minute. But first, I'm at Doc Foreman, April Foreman, one of your friendly moderators. Want to introduce you to my co-moderator and co-producer, Mr. Tony Wood.
Howdy, everybody. Tweet at me at ADWWW if you have any questions for the cast.
Or if we can't get our act together.
And I'm going to try to text with the rest of the people that are supposed to be on the show and try to figure out why they can't get on the show.
And he's not going to do it, I told you so, telling me that I made something that was too complicated because he has class. And so next, speaking of people that have class, we got Bart Andrews instead. Dr. Bart Andrews.
God, you are killing me tonight. I am at Bart Andrews. It is delightful to be here. We had a pretty mundane pre-show. That didn't include anything worth repeating, please. And I'm glad to be here. And I want to speak up, April. This is important to me. You dare to dream big, and you keep doing it. And don't let Tony, who can be a little bit. Sometimes Tony, he thinks practical and logical and rational, and we can only do this. And you think big, and I want you to continue to think big. And I'm excited about the show because I want to learn about hackathons because I have no idea what a hackathon is.
I know.
And I watched a little bit, and I'm going to be honest, I got really bored really quickly following the hashtags. I'm just going to say that up front because I have the attention span of a goldfish.
Trying to explain hackathons, like it didn't even sound like real words.
But I was interested, and then seeing you on the Blam was very cool. So I think there's lots of fun stuff.
It's a blab, not a blam.
Blam, blab.
When April Blam, maybe it's a Blam.
I think Blam would be good, wouldn't it? I like Blam. I'm just throwing it out there.
Tell them what you're a doctor of and where they can find you.
I'm a doctor of psychology, licensed in the state of Missouri, which is probably being reviewed at this moment. And I work at the amazing Behavioral Health Response in St. Louis, Missouri. You can find me at Bart Andrews on Twitter. And this is a big event. A year ago, I learned how to meme. A year ago, I've been memeing for a year. Think about it. Think about it.
You're going to be Snapchatting. We're going to be Snapchat buds by the end of tonight. So let's bring on SPSM alum, Dr. Glenn Copper Smith. Damn it! I get your name right until we turn the video on.
Wow, very Dickinsonian?
I think it's
Dickinsonian. Thank you, Dickinsonian.
Dickensian.
Dickensian. Oh.
Would you like some more gruel?
So you have to let me stop laughing to be able to introduce myself with anything. So I'm Glenn Coppersmith, and I've been here a couple of times before. And this latest iteration is because I firmly have my computer science hat on, and we spent a bit of the weekend hacking on things and hackathoning, as it were, but not like any hackathon I've ever been at. So we'll talk a bit about it, but we should also then introduce Ryan Leary.
Would you tell us a bit about Ryan? Tell us something that Ryan doesn't want us to know.
Something that Ryan doesn't want you to know. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, the real question is, where's Apollo?
He's asleep. So Apollo is my dog.
Ryan.
Dog.
He is some kind of mystery mutt. The coolest part is we named him after the space program, and just last week I had the good fortune to meet Buzz Aldrin, and I told him that I named my dog after his space program.
And what did Buzz have to say, and why did you get to meet Buzz and I don't?
Just luck. Just luck.
I don't believe that for a minute. Ryan, tell us a little bit about what you do and what your role was at the hackathon.
So I work with Glenn at Quantify, and at this hackathon, we all, the White House hosted this event, and was nice enough to bring all these great people together with the goal of just trying to get new ideas together as to ways that technologists could potentially help with suicide prevention.
So what's a technologist? And what were you guys going to do, like start volunteering at the crisis lines, or what?
So I guess, I don't know if a technologist would be a new term, or...
You just invented a word on my show.
I certainly have not invented it, but somebody has recently invented it. To me, it's what non-technical people call technical people. Everyone is a technologist.
I think he gave us the dummy word, Bart.
You could take it that way. I choose to view this that there are those of us who are differently abled. Some of us are techie in our ableness, and some of us are not as techie. But it's not a value judgment. I'm sure that's not what you meant, right?
Certainly not.
See.
The way I'd look at it is you guys are great at using the technology, and the technologists are the guys that are trying to build some new tech.
So what did you build for us this weekend at the hackathon?
So at a normal hackathon, let's just level set a little bit here. You'd probably spend 48 hours or a week or something putting something together, because building technology is not like a couple hour affair. It's usually a bit in depth, and so to call us a hack,
you can't just pop it off.
No, not really. You can, but it's going to be a real mess, a right mess. I mean, way worse than this is, right?
Tonight on SBN, if you pop off, it can be very messy. And next week.
Didn't take long.
So usually there's a lot, you spend a lot of time. So this really wasn't actually like a hackathon, and I hate to say a traditional hackathon as if hackathons have this long-standing tradition, but this really wasn't a traditional hackathon.
That's right. I mean, it's better to think of it as more like a kickoff or a meetup or something else, where a bunch of clinicians and practitioners and researchers and computer scientists and technologists came together and really did a lot of sort of interaction and learning from one another, and a little bit of designing, trying to figure out, given that the technologists know what sort of technology is possible and the clinicians know where their pain is, we were trying to sort of meet in the middle and cross it's a pretty large divide, and find some ways in which perhaps tech can help with some of the problems that the mental health care conglomerate that you guys are face.
Right,
go ahead. I was just going to say my feedback from Sarah Stark, who was there, or Sarah Burns, but we just call her Stark here at SPSM, was she was like, oh, they really don't know about suicidology, as if it's a shock.
Yeah, culture shock is one word that I would use for it. Yeah.
Right. So a lot of it is actually that we need to go on a few dates and get to know each other. What were you going to say, Ryan?
Well, I was just going to say that the set of practicing clinicians and experts in suicidology and PhDs in machine learning and computer scientists and data scientists, like the set, or the number of people that have all of those skills, I suspect is zero. There's probably, maybe there's one person, right? But so
you can't do machine learning and therapy. Like, it's too many years. Like, you would be 80 by the time you finish school.
Exactly. So the real goal or the beauty of a hackathon, or in this case, like maybe a first hackathon, I suspect that there will be many more, is just bringing all of these people together to share their own experiences and their own ideas, and hopefully something productive will come out of them over time.
And so it was level set right away. At least at Boston, we were actually in different cities, 5 cities worth of hackathoning, 5 different sites. So Ryan and I had a slightly different experience. We were at different places, but at least in Boston, it was level set right off the bat. Listen, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Today's the beginning of it. There's going to be a bunch of stuff that happens over the next couple months, and then actually this is all sort of meant to culminate in some much larger, much better planned, not to disparage the planners here, but a longer-term goal is this second hackathon in March, where a bunch of us are supposed to come back together and then present some stuff that we've built. So 3-4 months, that's more like a time frame where you could actually hope to build something that's going to impact one of these real long-standing problems and perhaps actually have a dent in suicide prevention.
Okay, so in other words, there was no, like, in a traditional hackathon, you might spend several days and it might result with an end product. This was more like we're all going to meet each other, get to know each other, do some brainstorming, and start to be friends with the goal of like having a long-term relationship and building some bigger projects.
Yep,
absolutely.
So Ryan, who did you have a relationship with?
So I met a lot of I've had a lot of wonderful clinicians and a few people actually with lived experience and some service-disabled veterans. And I tried to better understand what, in their opinion, would be useful in their daily lives. What could make their lives better, either as a patient or as a clinician. Where are the major gaps? And then we tried to take that time to identify ways that technology could potentially fill those gaps. And
there were some brightly colored pieces of paper. I saw a picture of that, Glenn.
Oh yeah, there were plenty of brightly colored ideas. Yeah.
That was a cool tweet. I like that.
Yeah, so you get the psych reference? There's not many psych references I can make.
I know. I was pretty impressed. I did retweet. I think from 2 accounts. So we have just a couple minutes left before we bring on our next couple of guests to talk a little bit about like doing the social media sort of post. They did a post blab. But before we do that, what do you think, like if you were going to pick a take-home point or insight that you guys gained from doing this, what do you think is really important for our audience to know?
These conversations were perhaps long overdue, and that conversation is very starting. We had started something here a little while back where you guys and from the clinical side and us from the tech side really started this conversation, and they're catching up to where we've gotten over the last, I guess, year at this point. So I'm really excited to see that.
Go ahead, Ryan.
So one thing that I found to be pretty interesting was, at least in DC, there was this call for open data. And like everybody was talking about how we need more data and all the data needs to be open.
So they're going to put their keys in a bowl or what?
Well, so they were saying this, but I don't think they were really understanding the depth of the problem. So one, like the hacking that I did was to take the most recent CDC data on suicides across the country that I could find. I looked at the last 4 years. Well, first of all, the data is stale. The most recent data available ends in 2013, and what they did provide, there was 94% of the data available at a state level in terms of number of suicides per month. And the CDC provides data on 166 counties over the entire United States, only 166 counties.
Right.
But if you want to look at it by month, only 32% of that data is available.
So suicide prevention people, just heads up, we should probably get our coroners, because by the way, I spend a lot of time talking to coroners because I do, for fun, and they're great people, and they will tell you that they need more technology, that they need larger death reporting databases, and they need a consistent way to report suicide. There's no architecture for reporting all of this data, so which is why the data is stale and incomplete. But anyway.
Yeah, so I think that was just an interesting insight, or many people found that to be an interesting insight, that they didn't realize that so little data was available, and that even just because of strange policy issues, the data that is available isn't disseminated.
Our data is stale, unavailable, and disseminated.
Sounds like my last date.
Thank you so much, Glenn and Ryan. Glenn and Ryan are going to hang out a little bit. They're really pretty exhausted folks, and especially Glenn, whose hours don't quite mesh with our show's hours. They may jump off, but do tweet them or reach out to them on Facebook. If you have questions or want to check in with them, these are folks who are actually there, which is really cool. Thank you guys.
Twitter,
so
not Facebook.
Twitter. Do you have your lower third?
No, it doesn't like
I know, because I got you guys.
Or at Quantify, QNTFY, 5 letters.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks,
All
Dan.
right. And can we get someone to like tweet out like how to get a hold of them, but do connect with them by Twitter. Bart, I would like for you, if you would please do a commentary while I get Sean and Alex on. Would that work okay?
Yeah, so I think one of the things, one of the things that I'm so impressed with is that we have the attention of folks who can make a huge difference in suicide prevention, right? And we're actually starting to think outside of the spheres of mental health and in one side and technologists on the other side doing their own thing and getting all these different groups together. So I'm really excited about that. I think one of the things that, for me, that it's infuriating is when people like this get involved and they go to find the data they need to do these wonderful things, they find out that our data system sucks and it's ridiculous. It's interesting to me that flu, which killed, like in St. Louis one year, killed like 3 people, and we are getting daily updates on influenza cases, but you can't even get real-time suicide data that we could actually do something with, that we could use to save lives. And I think that really does reflect our attitudes that this isn't important. And why would we spend a lot of time and energy making sure that people had real-time access to suicide-related data anyway? And here we could do some real things if we had access to the data. Tony and I know this. When I was looking for some data for Tony, I thought Missouri was bad. We have data 2013, which isn't too bad. I went to Illinois. The most recent data I could find for the entire state of Illinois was 2011, right? And that data sucked. I mean, it was just horrible data. It wasn't even very good data. And this is really, it's just sad. And so one of the things that we're looking at is using some grant money in Missouri to change how we're reporting data. That we need to have real-time data. I also think that data is going to really be very helpful in explaining who's dying of suicide. Most states don't even really know who are our residents that are dying. And I think if they actually knew that, that would really help us in combating this problem. So that's
if anybody is listening that cares about data, we need rich data. We don't need aggregated data that has been mushed up until it's unrecognizable. We need good, solid numbers on what and who and why and when.
And there is, somebody has to pay to build the infrastructure to do this. So you really need the data scientists to say this would be helpful, and the clinicians to say because we want to find out this.
And we need government to say yes.
Yeah.
To say yes.
Thank you, government. Please say yes. We have Sean with us. Everybody, this is our wonderful secret agent mod.
Secret. Super secret.
Super secret.
Agent mod. Sean, say hi to everybody, because
Hello.
we're going to talk a little bit about how if you can't go to the Washington D.C. or Boston or whatever to an event at the last minute, then what do you do? Because Sean, you went about connecting to this event in a different way.
Yeah, I tried to. I was obviously really excited about it, and I tried to do the blab.
You have to explain what blab is, because I can barely understand it.
Okay. Well, you experienced it. A blab is very similar to a Google Hangout, and it is based on a platform via Twitter. You have to have a Twitter account to do it. And once you have a Twitter account to do it, someone sets up the blab. You have to have the blab app, and that's linked directly to your Twitter account. And then there's a kind of a host, and then there's 3 other squares that people can join in.
Like the Brady Bunch.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's a good good describing.
And boob grab.
Yeah. Yes. Well, they have this thing that looks like this that you can give it a round of applause, similar to Periscope. You tap on the screen.
Periscope's a little heart.
Yes.
Blab
yes,
has.
Periscope's heart. Blab has hands that look like this, that presumably are a round of applause, but April.
Because your hands don't clap like this. So tell us a little bit about what you did last night and where people can find it, and why you use Blab versus doing like we're doing a hangout with a concurrent Twitter chat.
Right. And again, I don't think there's. I haven't really. Obviously I'm very loyal to the Google Hangout here, so I don't really.
That's totally cool.
No, I think both No, I think both platforms are wonderful and they're great. It's just a matter of, I guess, preference, and also it just seems like the difference with the Blab is that it's people can come and go as you please. So the empty seat comes up, and so the person can tap the screen. They don't necessarily need to be invited in. They can tap they can tap the screen to be invited in, and then it's up to the host to decide whether you come on in. And it's pretty, instantaneous. You don't really have to. I mean, not that a Google Hangout isn't that fast either.
Let's be clear how I ended up on this thing. I was just going to watch. I was shoving Greek chicken into my mouth when all of a sudden you're like, we don't care if she's done her hair and makeup. Right? And like you guys, and I never really used Blab before like 10 minutes, and you guys had me in, which was pretty amazing.
Well, and I'm glad that you decided to come and hang out, because it certainly made me more comfortable. I think.
Bart, did you see the Blab from last night?
I saw enough of the Blab to see you doing some really cool things with your hands that I thought was very interesting, and I did, and you were very animated. You brought good energy to it, and I thought it was really cool. So, but I couldn't stick around long enough for deeper understanding of the issues.
So, Sean, talk a little bit about what the end product was of the Blab. So you guys did a breakdown of the hackathon, and we talked about some of the issues involved and what people's connections were to it. And then once we do all of that, what product do you get, and how do you disseminate it?
Well, it's out there somewhere. I'll have to tweet it out after we're done. I'm horrible at multitasking, chatting and trying to tweet that out at the same time. But I'll get it out there on the SPSM account and my.
And that's another reason to use Blab, right? Because like you have the little windows, and you've got your Twitter stream and a set of questions for the host. Like, I mean, it's one platform, which is nice.
Right. Yeah, and there are questions that you can answer, and you can put them right on the side. I mean, I guess also the intention was that you can attach the hashtag to it, similar to what we do. And I was trying to. But my hope was that somebody who was at the event would see this thing and go, oh, let me check this out, and kind of join in. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We ended up talking about just a kind of wide range of stuff about data and mental health and wearables, and we covered a whole bunch of stuff. So that was fun.
It was, actually. It was super cool. And I met people I hadn't met before.
Right.
Which is super.
Yeah, I mean, well, and the great thing was Dr. Farrell, Liam Farrell, Irish man. It was like 2 a.m. in Ireland, and he hopped on. That was cool.
And SPSM, just so that you know, and I did not realize this on the Irish Med chat. Occasionally, Liam does live music sing-alongs.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Maybe we should end with Kumbaya. I don't know what. Anyway.
I think we can do it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Oh yeah, there you go. Project Clarence.
Right. So tell us why you decided to start experimenting with Blab. Did you cover that? Because I was not sure.
So I was invited to my first Blab about 2 weeks ago. It was somebody who was doing a chat, a Blab on patient engagement and kind of things that get in the way of people engaging, and kind of problem-solving barriers to people engaging in therapy. So I participated in that, and I was kind of hooked after that. It was really cool. So I just kind of ducked into there for like 15 minutes, and then So yeah, I participated in that, and it was I didn't host, so the pressure wasn't on. So, but I was just so compelled about this hackathon. I wanted to try to get a conversation going about it. Similar, and the conversation that we had, actually, that Blab, I only participated for about 15 minutes. They ended up talking for like 3 hours. That patient engagement Blab, that's out there like in the ether somewhere, like a 3 hour. She recorded it, but
And Alex gave us a couple notes. Folks, we were supposed to be able to get Alex here, who is a veteran and who has been in the mental health and technology and media sphere for, I think he mentioned 15 years. He's super charming. We had him sort of briefly on, but the truth is I plan to anytime that we're doing the show with handoffs, I plan something a little that doesn't work as seamlessly as Blab for getting guests on and off. It just doesn't. But Alex gave us a couple of notes. He says that we need to mention that Blab is really a lot like Google On Air Hangouts, really supposed to be used as an education tool. It's not a HIPAA compliant thing, so you couldn't use it for clinical interaction, much like we don't use this that way. And what you end up with are audio and video files that you can download, so you can make a podcast or you can make an archived video. When we do Google Plus, you guys know that you get a YouTube link, and that's automatically added to the channel. With this, there is, I think, some video and audio editing, but if you have an audio or video platform that you do want to edit things in, this is an ideal thing for that, right?
Yeah.
And can you do that, Sean? Are you
What?
like that? Can you edit those things?
I haven't gotten that deep yet. I was just scratching the surface. I just did the invite, played around. Oh boy, I see the look on your face.
I'm being so nice because
I know you are.
was legitimately naughty last night.
Because Bart, you missed it. I mean, really, she just,
No, you see how my hair is? My hair is this way. It was very flat when I came into the pre-show. And April started talking about what was going on during the Blab, and it was quite shocking. And then I ended up with hair like...
It got a little racy because I was surprised, and the Greek chicken sneaks up on you.
And also, I surprised her with the fact that it was being recorded, too. I was like, oh, by the way.
And it makes little gifs, so I'm doing like some sort of weird like face in like a seamless loop. I was like, thank you, Internet.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the neat thing about it visually, too, I think, is the GIF. So if somebody is attending and there's a little option on there that says tell a little bird, so it's like you can tweet it out, and what it does is it automatically generates a GIF of the 4 people, like I think it's like a 5-second loop of the 4 people that are on at that time. Yeah, and I don't think anybody, and I've seen a few of those, I don't think anybody looks like they are coherent or anything. I don't know.
I saw my face in your 3 faces. No one needs to lie to me, Sean.
Okay.
I will say, and then I'm interested in your feedback, and then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to Project Clarence and Vlogmas. But okay. I will say that it was an interesting thing. Mike Sevilla he's using Blab, and so several people in the healthcare social media field are using that increasingly. And this is just like we need to be prepared that the platforms do change. So if you think about it, sort of the guest expert or the community discussion forum really does operate the same, but the technology that facilitates it's going to update, and it's going to be different every year. So if this year brought us Periscope, and it looks like it brought us Blab, and it looks like those things are going to get adopted. And that's important for the SPSMers to know. You might want to experiment with it. If you decide to use it or not, it's one thing, but legitimately you should know what it is and give it a shot. And Sean will help you.
Yeah.
While you're eating Greek chicken.
Yes. I will spontaneously say, come on in.
And you're like, shit, I don't have anything on. Because it happens. Thank you so much for being on. We'll let you get back. You can tweet out links to everything. Everybody, please be on the look for Stuck on Social Work to tweet out to you, or the SPSM account to tweet out to you links of some of the content from last night. We talk more about the hackathon, and then you get to sort of see video of the lovely Alex, who Sean sprung me on like a surprise. You get to see somebody get the full doc form in ambush.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sean.
All right.
Thanks, Sean.
No problem.
Bart, what do you think? We should talk about giving Blab a shot at some point.
I'm gonna. So the bit that I saw, I didn't log into it, so I don't know how it was for you guys. But the 4 squares was very compelling, right? Being able to see 4 faces at the same time, at the same resolution, same size, I thought was very compelling. And it did. And until somebody said it, totally reminds me of the Brady Bunch, which until tonight, and somebody mentioned that, I think it's pretty cool because the Brady Bunch were awesome. And it seems like it's easy to bring people in and just kind of have these conversations, and then it's very tweetable. It automatically interacts with Twitter. And so it seems like it's a platform that might have a lot of stuff to it that would work for us. So I think we should do Can we do a blab show sometime? Is that
Well,
a
so
possibility?
let's talk about that, because we're going to talk about Snapmas, and it's not Snatchmas, Bart, on the SPSMs, and we're going to talk about Snapmas and Vlogmas. So one of the things we talk about Project Clarence, as all of you know, Clarence is the angel in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, and every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings, right? And Clarence saves George Bailey's life. George Bailey is ready to attempt suicide. I mean, when you think about it, George Bailey is the person with lived experience, right? And Clarence the angel helps George Bailey develop some insight about what he has to live for and why his life, even under difficult circumstances, is important and worth living. And it's a wonderful movie. I was at an event earlier today, and the person directing the event literally just mentions out of nowhere that it's her favorite Christmas movie and why. And the idea of going from a moment of despair so bad that you want to die by suicide to finding a reason to live is so powerful that people, without even thinking about it being a suicide prevention movie, automatically associate it as being a quintessential Christmas movie, right? We really tie, that's why we call it Project Clarence, we really tie Christmas and suicide prevention and Christmas and media and messaging together, I mean, actually quite a bit. And so this year, we're going to talk a little bit about how other people are doing that. If you go on to Snapchat, which I have done a bunch, and I had vowed I was going to do some Snapmas, and then it turns out you have to be super disciplined to do this, and I'm going to have to plan ahead. This is what I've learned. Or if you go onto YouTube, or if you go onto Twitter or Instagram, if you search hashtag Vlogmas or hashtag Snapmas, you're going to see people who are planning special holiday programming on their social media feeds. And if you think about that with suicide prevention, the idea that you might have seasonal programming that is topical is a way that you build foot traffic and viewers. And so I want you all to maybe take a minute, if you can, just go look at that or Google that. So all of the major YouTubers are doing Vlogmas or doing Snapmas, and you can find them. And many of them had to start. I mean, this is what I've learned by watching a lot of these videos in preparation for tonight. I've been watching them, watching the previews in November, knowing we would talk about this, and then watching as much of that as I could watch getting ready for this. Many of them started filming because it takes so much time to produce that content. They started filming or planning what they would say every day, and they planned it a month or two in advance and worked really, really hard at it. So if you're going to do a holiday media campaign, this is probably something you can't just sort of decide to do. You want to think, it's not like memeing where you can sort of pop it off. Aha! I'm sorry, I just wanted to say pop it off. There's a story about me in that. Anyway, so you can't just, it's really hard. I wanted to do sort of a concept of like a daily docformanism and sort of like do a snap, like a little video snap of me just repeating some random docformity thing that I would say, which you guys know I do, like as a little string of videos, because they can then import that and you can sort of watch all the feed together at the end of that. I thought that was a cool concept, and I'm still going to do that. But if you want to do programming that will bring foot traffic, the holidays are a great time, as are other times, to put stuff together. Bart, what do you, other than pop it off, what are some of your thoughts?
So this is just really new to me, so I'm trying to get my mind around how this works. I got on Snapchat today,
Yeah.
and I now have a Snapchat account at Bart Andrews on Snapchat. Highly original. I went out on a limb and used the same user ID that I do for Twitter, which you did too, right? Didn't you do the same thing?
Docforming. Yeah, because that's just easy to do, right?
So, and then I set up my account, and then I realized I Snapchatted something out, and I don't really know where it goes. I don't really have a lot of friends on Snapchat. I'm feeling a little lonely on it. But I do think that the idea of holiday theming and connecting things together makes a lot of sense, because this time of year, although we know the suicide rate tends to drop over the holidays, it's a point where people, I think, feel a lot of pain when they're not feeling connected, and I think this time of year is when folks really, the sense of loneliness can be most intense during the holiday seasons. I think creating things and themes and ways for people to connect and to share content around those themes could be really helpful for, one, to get our message out, and two, for people who are struggling and want to be a part of something.
So I'm trying to use Snapchat right now, and I'm struggling. Yeah. I agree with you. I want to add Snapchatters from my contacts. So let's find Bart Andrews. There we go. I'm adding you. Right? Do you have your phone?
I do.
and I'm sending you a message to add me on Snapchat, because the truth is that this is a lot like Twitter. You have you can't just sort of broadcast. People have to sort of select to watch your channel or to chat with you in some ways, I believe. There are some like the Discovery Channel, the Food Network, that are doing some really cool snaps, which I looked at. But like these are paid people who are paying a lot of money to do this. They're not just like showing pictures. I don't know. Is Amelia around? Amelia, are you on at all? Can I bring Amelia on? She's our Snapchat diva.
She knows what she's doing.
I'm going to try inviting her. I don't know if she can come on in.
So I got a text from you, but what do I do now? I'm in Snapchat.
I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. I really struggle with it, and Amelia usually helps get me through. So, Amelia, I'm bringing you in. But so let me show you. I can go ahead and go to snapping, right? Let's get a snapping SPSM. There's Bart Andrews and there's me. And then we're done. And I can even like draw on it, right?
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right?
Sure.
And then there we go. And that can be part of my story. And so if you want to see my story, my story is like a series of things, right? And people can, the ones that are my story, people can see publicly. And you could do videos, you could do like little brief, like Felicia Day. Felicia Day sings to her, it's like as she takes a popular song and does a parody or satire of it, getting her coffee at the Starbucks every day. She sings about how wonderful it is to get her coffee. And some of you know Felicia Day, 'cause she was in Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog and a bunch of other stuff because she's super fancy on the internet. And then she strings them together and posts them on YouTube. You could do a lot of things like this. Oh, look, we could do Hanukkah. Apparently Hanukkah, something about Hanukkah is live on Snapchat. Look, there's some dreidel happening. So there's some happy Hanukkah going on there, and that's topical. And it gets people to look at your, you know, and so here are Snapchats related to the holiday, right?
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah.
So notice
freaking cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Now, Tony, can we get you to come off mic and come on the show to talk about why we might want why suicide prevention might want to be interested in Snapchat?
Because you definitely want to prevent suicide.
Right, and specifically, who is the Snapchat audience, and why would we be interested in them?
That was
some
just
reasons.
something so that I could plug in my mic. I'm sorry.
True.
Because that's where the kids are today. That's where the youth live.
Not the boys.
No, but what's the #1 killer of teenage girls?
Across the whole world?
The whole planet.
Where's
my planet
having
prop?
a period?
Oh, here it is.
Look at that.
Nope, that's not it.
What is it?
I think it's suicide. That's what you told me.
It is. It's the #1 killer of girls aged 15 to 19, and they're really, Snapchat is a medium that they like. But also, when it comes to, if we wanted to change the language or conversation or social narrative about suicide, why would we be interested in getting to teenage girls and giving them a narrative about suicide or suicide prevention?
Number one driver of change of language, of all language, comes from teenage females. So when you want to change the language of an entire culture, you need to change the language of teenage females, and within a generation, everyone will be using it.
You mean we shouldn't just write a lot of essays and be indignant?
It turns out that pamphlets and white papers and guidelines are not as effective as you would think at changing the language of adults who already have a vocabulary that is established in their brains. You know how difficult it is if I put my deodorant in another place in the morning? I can't change the way I talk. I'm too old. But the young people can do it.
Wait, are you just inventing these facts, Tony?
No, it turns out that this is called the study of language. Linguists study language.
We learned this from the linguists, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
So If we wanted
Yes.
to reach one of our highest risk populations, and if
Yep.
we wanted to infect them with more effective language, if language
Yep.
in fact does matter, we want to infect them with more effective language that would destigmatize it and provide ways of talking about it that might lead to reducing mortality, we would want to pick every single social media platform where teenage girls hang out and talk.
Yes.
But we need to clarify, because the study actually had a lot more in it than just about the teenage girls. What
It does.
really
It does.
what
There's
it
a lot
really
in it.
hits home is that it is in the newer members of a group that change occurs, right? And so it's in fact in the first third of your group membership is where change occurs. So one of the things
Yes.
one of the things that's really important is that by creating groups, right? Actually, by creating and forming and inviting people into groups, which both increases belongingness, right?
Groups
Develops
like
purpose,
SPSM?
like groups like SPSM, you got it.
Oh my goodness.
That's also where change occurs, when you get people involved in new things. So it's really self-replicating. So it's really important. I think this all ties in. It's why I'm going to try to learn how to Snapchat, and I can't figure out what these invites are. I'm lost.
And on
But
an
I'm gonna-
aside, for all the other old people like myself that watch this show or that listen
How old
to
are you,
this,
Tony? Tell me how old are you?
36.
No.
You know what the Snapchat
That's
age is? It's about half that.
And Christy, I'm totally sorry that I'm talking too fast. I'm a fast talker. I want to apologize for that right now.
Computational linguists, like Christy Hollingshead Sykes and like Glenn Coppersmith, study the patterns of language using computers. So they're people that study language using machines.
So the Snapchat goes away after 24 hours, right? So after you snap it, it only lives for 24 hours, right?
That's the idea. It's temporal medium.
Mostly.
But
I've
there's
been told
not
that's
in
a
all
good enough
cases.
explanation.
That's good enough.
It's quite ephemeral.
But for the old people that I meant it, I kind of missed it for a second. But the old people, you can still change, but it's really hard. But if you are out there teaching, professionals do the large portion of the acquisition of their professional language in their undergraduate years. So if anybody's out there teaching undergraduates in this area, you have a big opportunity to change the language for the next generation of prevention.
Absolutely. Chrissy Hollinghead site says Snapchat is where the kids are, says my stepson. Boys too, may have to do with the fact that girls are there.
Shh.
Hormones.
I think
Okay,
that's
so
very
in the
wise.
language rant, there's great stuff on the internet about it.
Language oh look, everybody's really talking about this. So be really clear that one of the reasons to go on social media and find out like which platforms young women are using is because they are drivers of language, they are drivers of ideas, and also fun. And I've invited Amelia, but I can't find her. I think she may be having an actual life because she's a very engaged mother during the holidays. So Atos, if you're around, I hope that you'll comment on this because she's actually a very good Snapchatter and would help me, and she's very funny, and I really dig it. But so whatever you use, consider doing holiday-themed programming that you plan out ahead of time that has reliable release. So think about scheduling. Think about video, and think about platforms that young girls are on, and this is sort of why we're having a video one. So if everybody is using Google Plus on-air Hangouts, that's great. If they move to Blab or Snapchat, then you need to move there too, even if it seems frivolous. And that's a thing that I think that professionals don't do, which is they say the meme is frivolous, or the Blab is frivolous, or the Snapchat is frivolous, and they don't understand how absolutely critical it is in changing or driving ideas generationally.
That rock and roll is just a fad.
True. Bart, any thoughts other than that Snapchat makes me feel old?
Well, it's just one of these things where we should be lifelong learners. I would expect the people in our profession to embrace lifelong learning and adaptation and change and innovation. Those are things I think that nod your head for me, Tony, when I'm talking. These are the important innovation, change, going where people are. And I think one of the things that you're starting to see that's happening, and I think it's going to happen, and some people are going to be left out, to be quite honest. Slowly but surely, things are moving in this direction where it's going to be folks that are using technology to engage and do prevention and do therapy and intervention, and folks that aren't doing it. And I think that what you'll see is watch. I see old people driving around on their smartphones, folks that are much older than me. So even the older generation, I know. And Louis C.K. says once you hit 45, it's just pretty much you're pretty much there.
Things fall out.
Things, it's not pretty. But even older folks like technology and are enjoying it. And if we don't find a way to start using these tools to meet people where they're at, we're missing out on so much opportunity. And I think that's what I love about SPSM is that we're really trying. The other thing that, one of the, and I forget, it was one of the folks, what's that, MEDX? Is it MEDX? What's the group that does is it MEDX? There's some folks from MEDX.
TEDMed.
Stanford.
They did that really cool article about that. We have a couple of things. One is technology. Two is that there was one of those studies that showed that when you're on social media, you've got the group of folks who are fighting suicide and fighting the experience of suicide and trying to stay alive and connect, and then you got all of us who are trying to do suicide prevention, and we're not mingling. We're not connecting. We're on social media at the same time, but we're not really connecting. And I think that's one of the things that really has got to happen. And I think I'm going to be honest, I think this scares the shit out of providers that they would interact with people outside of their work setting. And I think it's the most, when I look back on my 14 months in social media, the most rewarding thing aside from SPSM, and some of it's happened through SPM, has been my contact with people with lived experience and being there with them on an equal playing field and learning so much and how much that's changed my view of the world and my view of therapy. And I think that's just got to happen on a much larger scale. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't happen, and I think a lot of the prejudice and discrimination are connected to the fact that we're so distant from each other that there's lots of problems. There's too big a gaps between where we're at and where the folks we're trying to help are at.
I can't say that enough, and I think we end up saying that every once in a while, and I sort of get choked up. And I'm not crying, Schmitz. I'm just not doing it under socks. But the truth is that that we're not chatting, and that when we do, those are the most powerful and transformative experiences. And we bring on Ryan Leary, and he says, so I went to a hackathon, and he immediately uses that wonderful language because to him that's a new deal. And I talk with people who have lived experience because I'm designing things for them, and they were there, which was awesome.
Well, you just look at somebody like Desiree L. Stage, who created a website for suicide attempt survivors. And that just this magical thing that she created, when I run into people, I say, go check this site out. I've got this thing, right, where I can say you need to, and it's amazing when people go and check the site out how powerful it is. So we need more of that. We need more of these things because you can connect anybody. So it used to be 15 years ago, Desiree could have done this and nobody would know about it if you weren't directly in her region, right? Now anybody in the world can connect with this site. So there's so much we can do.
And Desiree Stage, incidentally, probably accidentally created the largest rich database that's publicly available of the narratives of people who are attempt survivors of suicide while she was just in the middle of doing an art project that was significant to her.
In their own words.
Damn it. Right?
Yes,
I mean,
not transcribed by somebody else.
Right.
Not
and it's
somebody's notes, them saying it from their mouth.
That researchers weren't getting that rich of a database, so Desiree Stage independently on her own goes out and does that, which is ridiculous and wonderful. And I have my feelings about that. SPSM alum, by the way. So we're in the last sort of 10 minutes of the show, which is when we just rolled out our last discussion point for the evening, which is where we started to ask people what kinds of things that they have planned, because we're about ready to go on hiatus, and we're going to be on hiatus for I think about 6 or 7 weeks. We're coming back I think on the 24th of January. So we've basically got leading up to Christmas. And by the way, happy last night of Hanukkah for all of my friends who've been celebrating. I've had several, and thank you for including me. Several of you, like Julie Searle and Jonathan Singer and my friend Richard Flicker, who have included me in their Hanukkah celebrations. But it's the holiday season. We've got New Year's coming up. What are you willing to do, since you're not coming to the chat every week and you're going to have vacation time and you're going to have a smartphone in your hands? You know you are, and you want to pop something off. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to try? Or what projects might you do? Bart, any thoughts about something you... Nice Bart hair. I like it. Nice Bart hair. What
Okay.
kinds of things do you want to do over the holiday?
So here's one of the things I'm going to do over the holidays. I've begun reading the amazing Dr. Jonathan Singer's book, Suicide in Schools, because I'm putting together a presentation on that book and some other pieces for a local school district. And so one of the things I want to do is I want to kind of live tweet as I'm going through that book. So just kind of connecting with the material, hitting some of that stuff out there and generate some activity because the book is really good. I've been able to kind of review it at a high level, but now I need to really get into it. So that's when I'm going to combine my reading of the book with doing some social media and sharing some of the things I learned while reading the book. So that's one of the things.
Hashtag potty book.
Hashtag potty book?
You should totally do it. Hashtag potty book. Hashtag SPSM, hashtag potty book.
Potty
Sitting on the
book.
pot. Got my book, I've got my phone.
Oh, okay.
I get it. It took me a second.
Okay.
I'm with you now.
All right. I thought you were shitting all over Zinger's book, but now I see it.
No, I have a fucking autographed copy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Zing.
You got an
think,
autographed copy. Oh.
Yeah.
Tony, did you get an autographed copy?
No.
No, we didn't.
Well,
no, it's all right.
Some of you didn't go out of your way to meet him by just meeting him like when you'd never met before strangely and kissing him on the face and sitting down and having breakfast with him right out the chute. This is what I credit to getting the book. Number one. Number two, like things like, that's a great concept.
Speaking of number two.
Yeah.
Number two, out the chute and popping off. It seems to be that kind of a night on SPSM.
It is. But think about if you wanted to do a theme. We talked about sort of themed media. If you were like, this is a really big book, so I'm just gonna read a little bit at a time and give you a little snippet of what I learned while I was on the pot today. Like that would be pretty funny. People would check in every day for that, and that seems sort of frivolous and a little bit filthy and kind of funny.
I love it.
And good messaging.
Speaking of good messaging.
Yes.
Don't we do a project every year?
Were you doing talk about Project Clarence?
I think so. Is this a good time to do that?
Well, that's what we're doing that. So like people could tag their projects.
That was my attempt at a segue. It didn't go as well as I thought.
Oh well, I was slow on the pickup.
It's okay.
So you could, for example, try some stuff and just hashtag Project Clarence. You could try some Snapchats that you hashtag. You could try a vlog that you guys could do some little micro vlogs on the YouTube. Tag them. Project Clarence, and you could tweet them out with the hashtag Project Clarence, and we could all see what you do.
I was a little distracted with some technology issues that we had earlier. So did you tell everybody what it is?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Project Clarence?
Yeah.
Bart, Noreen says she got a copy of Zing's book too, by the way.
Yeah, I saw the tweet. Everybody's got a signed copy of Zinger's book.
What did you do about Zinger?
Well,
how did he really break his hand, Bart?
It might have been the last. The Zinger Vice memes may have just been the. It may have just really been it. But I find it hysterical myself. But I don't know how well they're landing.
So here's the deal, SPSMers. You've got a bunch of time off. And there are holiday things to go to, but you are going to miss us because I think we all hang out on the onlines almost every day. That's the truth. So if you want to goof around and try making some new content or try out a new platform, this is the time to do it. Bart, you talked about getting together to do a blab, and I'm going to bring up this last thing before we sort of slide into the wrap up for 2015, which has been a hell of a year. There has been a lot of talk, like Sean talked about this some last night, and Alex, and you're talking about it now, about people creating content and trying things beyond just the weekly scheduled SPSM, which I think is fabulous. And several people have pitched some of those ideas. Would you like to talk a little bit aloud? I know Sean and Alex did last night. Did you want to talk a little bit aloud about things that you think would be fun to try?
I'd love to. I mean, one of the things we've talked a little bit about, and I know kind of benefiting from you and Tony's wisdom, I would love to do a daytime SPSM chat. There's a lot of folks who this is hard. This is a hard time for a lot of folks, right? And I think the time works well for an ongoing weekly chat, and I get that. It took me a while to learn that. But I think doing some like maybe a quarterly or every once in a while doing a daytime SPSM chat, I think we'd get a lot of folks. Tony's making a face. I just hurt my
foot. I just hurt my foot. I'm totally disconnected to your words. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you. I like the idea of
that.
I like the idea of doing it, and Sean and I talked about this. I like the idea of doing a daytime SPSM chat. I think that would be really cool. It's not something we could do all the time, but I think it would be fun.
Oh, Mark says he's going to submit his Paul Quinnett essay. That's super cool. And you were wanting to do a daytime chat. Let's talk about that. So if the principle that we're talking about today is that you can do a lot of content if people just sort of know that it's regularly scheduled, one of the big pieces of advice that I think has helped SPSM is that it happens every Sunday night, and we let people know when we go on vacation. But so every Sunday night people associate it with it. I talked with Sean and Alex about this last night, and I know Stark has talked about this. Several people have gotten so good at social media in the last year and a half, 2 years of SPSM that we now have a bunch of people who would like to, independently produce content or trying to figure out, where is the audience, where's the schedule. It might be worth, over the hiatus, getting together on Snapchat, getting together on Blab, doing some trial runs, and then figuring out some programming, either like a daytime where different people are rotating in and doing a show, may or may not be on suicide prevention, could be on suicide prevention and not, we do suicide prevention and social media technology. We could do suicide prevention and policy. You could do all sorts of things. You could do as many things as you can think of. You might consider hooking up over the break, popping it off, and coming up with a production schedule where different people are doing different things, but it's at a predictable time. So if you're having a daytime, maybe, Bart, you want to do a quarterly show because that's all you've got the time to independently produce. But if 5 or 6 of you want to do a quarterly show, you've got enough, you could ostensibly do that. And so, what we learned from Vlogmas and Snapmas is that what people really dig was getting daily content that they knew was coming, much like a network TV series where you say, well, we're going to have the fall season, and it's not every week, it's every week for 16 weeks, for example. Or you could do a mini-series where you're like, we're going to do 5 episodes in this period of time, and that's all we're going to do. You could think of it like network programming. Thoughts? You're smiling.
I love that idea. And I think we could tie this in with NASCOD. We do a monthly webinar with NASCOD, and Suicide Lifeline does these does monthly
Ask the
things.
Experts, right?
So there's a way we could tie these things together where there's already kind of a pool of folks that are kind of expecting that sort of thing. I think it'd be really powerful.
Everyone's into the daytime thing. You're getting a bunch of love about that. So I definitely think daytime was something that I didn't think that I could make happen given what we were trying to do in our formatting, but with a different format, you could absolutely make it happen. I just didn't think I could get experts and I could get my daytime schedule cleared on a consistent basis to do a weekly chat, but you could do it if it shifted about. Totally doable, Christy.
Like a floating crap game.
Floating crap. Guys and Dolls.
It's a Guys and Dolls reference, everybody.
So...
Early Sinatra? Anyone? Nobody? Just me?
I've never seen
that's fine.
Guys.
That's fine. That's fine. Just me. It's okay.
We're getting into
I made
the last
April watch
couple
it
of
once.
minutes.
She went to sleep, I think. That's okay.
I finished watching it later.
You seem to like the first
a month
part.
later or whatever. Okay, so we're now at the wrap up for 2015. First of all, so excited to be with you again, SPSM. I'm excited. The number of really cool projects and ideas that have been pitched to me in the last 6 months about things that you could be doing with social media really excite me. Keep pitching your ideas. Keep trying video platforms, especially. If you do something cool, please hashtag it. That's my final thought. Please hashtag it SPSM. Please hashtag it Project Clarence so that everybody knows where to go looking for some cool video, media, and things you want to try. And please try your own content. Please do, because I want you to be successful. And that is my big wrap-up. Give it a try. We can only help the field. Final thought. Bart Andrews.
Final thought, I'm excited. This was really cool. I learned about hackathons. I learned that I need to learn more about Snapchat. And I learned that we really need to be thinking, for me, just being on isn't enough. We need to start thinking more strategically and planning content out, which you do, April, so amazingly well. I don't know how you have the time to do it. But I think that one of the things I started asking myself is, well, why am I on Snapchat? And then the question is, well, why the hell am I on Twitter? I have a little bit of an idea what I'm trying to do on Twitter, but I want to be more strategic about it. And I think that's really key, and I think it's a good thing to think about. So I'm going to miss everybody. Happy holidays, everybody.
Tony, any final thoughts before we close out?
I won't suck up all the time. Happy holidays, everybody.
Believe me, he'll have plenty of notes for me for next spring. As always, you've wasted another year on SPSM. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy holidays to everybody. Come to the SPSM chat room. Tweet out SPSM, message at me on Facebook. If you have ideas, I'm going to be using the hiatus to plan the spring season content. And I've got lots of notes. So add yours now so we can work it into the schedule. Thank you all so much for being with us. And until next year, have a great Christmas.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Straight out of the chute. Top it off.